Going on, everyone? Welcome back to Game Time Discussions. I'm Emery Cuzzy. I'm here with Dustin Zimmerman, and we are going to be doing the Big Ten breakdown for the schedule and rankings sheet. Lots of fun stuff coming up. We did the ACC already. It is Dustin's birthday, so shout out Dustin if you want to put that in the in the chat. Go ahead and do that. Please follow us, subscribe to the channel so you can come and join our discussion. But let's get into it and let's talk about the worst team in the Big Ten. All right, there it is.
And by far. By far. It's not close. Well,
Purdue
it's kind of close, but they're really bad.
Purdue's pretty awful. It's going to be a quick breakdown. Everybody left. Their best players at every position left. There's best edge and Will Helt left. He went to Clemson. Their safety left. He went to Oregon. It's just, I don't know how this team wins any games in this conference. They have, one of the actually harder schedules in this conference. Like, it's going to be really difficult for them. And 3.5 total wins. Like, I don't know who's really helping them out with that, because like that's a hammer the under type of thing for me, because they might not even beat Ball State.
Yeah. They're definitely not winning a Big Ten game. We're not going to see the Spoilermakers this year. It's really sad. Their SP plus rank is like 101st, I believe.
Yes.
It's pretty god awful. They're by far the lowest that we're gonna talk about over the next couple days or a couple weeks as we go through these. Ball State, even Southern Illinois, I can't say is a penciled in W at this point.
They were the 70th ranked transfer portal team, which is last in the Big Ten. They I
think it's last that on
period
three
that on three
does.
ranks.
I'm pretty sure they were the very last team.
They don't do non-power fives on there, I don't think.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a really tough year for Purdue. I don't really know how they're going to turn it around. They're probably going to have to fire all their coaches, start everything over, and really push for some boosters for NIL money is basically how I look at them. Like, they are really bad right now.
Yeah. What's sad is they lost 4 stars in the portal.
Yeah. All right, Dustin, you got the next one.
So Maryland, another team that we expect to be really bad. They're projected to be slightly better than Purdue. We still have them going winless in the conference, similarly to Purdue. They are really bad metrics-wise. They haven't been good since Tua's brother left Talia. They finished the year on a bright note with another pretty bad team in Michigan State. So there's that. But outside of that, they lost everybody. They haven't really been good. They do have a really easy schedule. They get to dodge a lot of the top 3 teams. But I think they're just so bad that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. They're 0-9. Purdue was 0-9. They luckily unfortunately for them, don't get to play each other. So that, we could have seen a 4-8 team instead of both teams being 3-9, or 2-10 if you're Purdue. Like you said, they play Michigan State. That's the game that I can see them winning, but it's like most of their game. And actually, like you said, their schedule's pretty easy. They do miss the top 3 teams. They don't have to play. They only play 4 away games, and their winnable games are at home. It's just, I just don't know that it matters. Like you said, losing their quarterback, running back, tight end, and both wide receivers. Like, all of their playmakers are gone. And then on defense, they also lose their top 2 players. It's like, they have a lot of things going against them. It's a rebuilding year. I don't know how long it's going to take. They need another quarterback like Talia Tagovailoa. But they're just, right now, they're kind of in flux and waiting for an opportunity to get a guy like that, maybe in the transfer portal or something like that next year. But this is not the year for them, in my opinion.
Completely agree.
Northwestern is got a 3.5 win total. The strength of schedule at 22nd is pretty tough, but you kind of have to dig into that. Like, there's some other things going on with this team. They tried to replace their whole team basically in the transfer portal, which is always a fun thing. They were 14th in the Big Ten with that transfer portal stuff, but it's because they went out and got a quarterback in Preston Stone from SMU. That got benched, of course, but at the same time, like, he could end up being one of the guys that, really steps up if he can figure out all of his situation and his woes that he had at SMU. But their quarterbacks last year had a 53.7% completion rate, 2,231 yards, and 7 touchdowns to 11 total interceptions. Like, they were awful. And their running backs weren't much better. So it's just a team that I don't know what to do with. I don't think they're going to be very good, but
No.
if you get the opportunity to get a better quarterback, have better quarterback play from Preston Stone, maybe that can push them into 4 or 5 wins. But I'm a little worried about this team. They do have a guy that we really like though, and Caleb Tiernan, their left
Mm-hmm.
tackle. So he's a fun guy that we're going to talk about for the 2026 draft stuff.
Yeah, this was a team that I used to root for quite a bit. And then they lost their coach, Pat Fitzgerald, because he was bullying his own players. So very sad to see the downfall there for a guy who really led one of the schools known for its academics above
Mhm.
all else to actually being somewhat fun to watch in the Big Ten to now, since then, um, we're at this point where we're hoping we can eclipse 4 wins.
Right.
And I think the only reason either of us gave them a conference win is because they get to play Purdue. And
Right. Yeah.
they're essentially an automatic W for all their opponents.
Yeah, they did have Tulane in their non-conference that we had them losing to. So both of us had them
Yeah.
losing to Tulane, um,
Yeah.
and it's not really a surprise. Tulane's a really good non-Power 5 team. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Northwestern is our 16th ranked team in the Big Ten. The next team is Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Whiskey. So the Badgers, led by head coach Luke Fickell, has not exactly found the success he did in his prior job with Cincinnati. They do bring in the quarterback from Maryland, actually, which is funny since they get to play each other this year. They tried to bring in a really good tight end in Tanner Koziel. He was there for all of 4 months and left as soon as he could to go to Houston. And then their schedule is absolutely abysmal. They're playing Alabama, Michigan, Iowa, Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, Indiana, Illinois, and Minnesota. So they, I guess, get to dodge Penn State, but outside of that, they get Alabama. So I'm not sure that they really win the trade-off there by any means.
Yeah, this team taking Billy Edwards Jr. from Maryland is kind of funny because that might be the only game they can win.
Yeah.
So that's actually hilarious, and they will be playing like early in the year. So good game worth watching, I guess, because of that.
First conference game for each team.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. They were awful in the transfer portal. They have a hard, really, really hard schedule. We just had them beating basically Maryland, and that's why they put them at 15th rather than at 17th down there with Maryland, where Maryland is now. It could be
Mm-hmm.
flipped really easily if you in my thought process. But yeah, Wisconsin is kind of screwed by their schedule. Really don't
Yep.
have much going for them, and they need to get it all figured out. Like you said, Luke Fickell is on the hot seat.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we will see if he can figure it all out.
Yep.
Next up, I mean, these are easy teams. I really don't think we need to really go over them forever because they just don't have much going for them. And 5.5 wins is actually probably nice by the betting books. So let's go over
Yeah.
to the Michigan State Spartans.
Best bet is to figure out where Luke Fickell's going to be coaching next year.
Sure, yeah. Michigan State is a team that's actually kind of interesting. I think they have a really high, like, wide outcome.
Yeah.
Possibly the highest possible outcomes of any team because of their quarterback, Aiden Childs, who is a talented player. He is a running and a movement quarterback, 59.4% completion rate, 2,415 yards, and 13-11 touchdown interception ratio. But he has to improve to get this team to go above this 5.5 win threshold. And I just think that he does probably improve a little bit, but that's a pretty big ask.
Yeah.
They were 21st in the transfer portal, which is still 8th in the Big Ten. So they brought some players in. They added talent. Nick Marsh led the team with 41 catches, 649 yards, and 3 touchdowns. They have an easier schedule, so that's good. But at the same time, it's like I just don't know if I can see them getting to 6 wins. And so I think the under here is pretty comfortable in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I need Aiden Childs to not have any interesting preseason interviews. Please don't tell everyone to bet the over and then completely underperform in that game and all year the rest of the year.
Yeah.
It's not a good look, especially when I heard that and went, "Oh yeah, I love this dude," and then he gave me absolutely nothing to cheer for. So don't do that. As much as I loved Kyron Jones in our ACC video, and Aiden Childs is essentially a similar mold to that. He does
Mhm.
not have the talent, and unfortunately, already spoke too loudly and did not play loudly enough to follow it. Therefore, I cannot give them any more than the 3 wins I have predicted here.
Absolutely fair. You're actually harsher on them. I have them winning 2 games in conference, but
Wow,
it's still
real,
2 games from the over.
real
Like that's a.
victorious one
I mean,
there.
that's a big difference though, going all the way up to 6 wins. Like this team,
Yeah,
this offense with Aiden Giles was 110th last year. Like that's awful. 123rd points per game. Like I don't know what we're gonna get differently. I
I'm
think that it's funny that a lot of people have Aiden Childs as one of their dark horse players at quarterback for the 2026 draft because
yeah.
that is a massive step. Like that's a
Yeah,
massive step
that's
because this is a
that's
good
not a
class.
step. That's a full like
Leap, yeah, triple
Zumba
jump,
workout.
whole triple
However you
jump.
want to talk about it. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're not calling that a step at this point.
I
Not with
agree.
how last year went. I am shocked you have them beating UCLA. I I
Oh wait,
don't.
that was at Michigan State, right?
It doesn't. I mean, yeah, but does it matter?
I think so. I mean,
I'm shocked.
UCLA is a West Coast team, and going to a cold environment in Michigan is a little bit hard of a game, and that's why I kind
Yeah,
of think I kind of pushed it that way because I think
sure.
that they could find a way to win it at home against a team that's from the West Coast. Normally
I
gets to
think
play in nice weather.
my only issue with it is that UCLA's new QB is used to a full season in Tennessee, and that weather in Michigan's not going to bother him.
Sure, but
So,
the whole other rest of the team, there's
yeah,
21
but
other guys that play. Come on,
I
man.
think I don't think it matters at this point in that
That's
one.
fair.
I think UCLA wins it. Maybe not easily. I'm
But
not going to go that far, but
I'm also, and we'll look at this in a second, but I'm not that high on UCLA myself. So
true, true.
we'll talk about them here in a second. Let's go over to USC. I'll let you take over for a second.
Oh, gladly. F. Lincoln Riley.
Okay.
That's where we're going to start with this. The guy can recruit with the best of them. Do not get me wrong. Like if my favorite college, my alma mater, was to bring him on just in a recruiting role, I'd be ecstatic. The problem is he just hasn't done much outside of that and is underperforming. He underperformed with Caleb Williams. I don't know how you do that. And then this past year underperformed compared to where people thought they would be.
Yeah.
Their win total now, he's the betters have lost all confidence in him. Win total of 7.5, and I'm 1 game below that. You're a little bit lower on them than even I am. And then my concern is with what's going to come next. Is Lincoln Riley on the hot seat? I don't know, because right now he has a top 3 recruiting class. But at the same time, he's got Mayava and Hassan Longstreet on his roster. What's he going to do as far as the QB situation goes? One of them likely transfers after this year because that's just the NIL and transfer portal era.
Right.
And they're both former 5-stars now. And so what does that look like? Where do they go? Does he get an extra year because he's got that, depending on their development, or if Longstreet is to stay and Mayava leaves? But all that is to figure out next offseason. This season, I think they have to stretch to win or to make a bowl game. And you apparently don't even think they will unless their academics are incredible.
Right. My biggest problem with this team is like we are in the world of the transfer portal, but when a team, okay, Lincoln Riley was considered like the Kevin O'Connell of the NCAA. He was the quarterback whisperer, and did these big things with quarterbacks, and he hasn't done that. Miller Moss transferred out after this last year, and it's really surprising. I also didn't expect them to lose the transfer portal so poorly. You talked about how they were great recruiters. Well, they were 61st in the transfer portal, 16th in the Big Ten. Wide receivers leaving this school like crazy. Zachariah Branch, a former 5-star, have not got him going, and he's left, going to Georgia. Deuce Robinson left, the wide receiver. Running back Quentin Joyner went to Texas Tech, and their craziness that they're doing down there. Like I said, Miller Moss, and they've just lost a lot. And it's like, well, this is the guy that recruits so well. Maybe the NIL era is just not for him. Maybe that's not how he recruits. He does well coming out of high school and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'm just not confident in this team. And yes, they still have Makai Lemon and they still have Jacoby Lane, but their defense is always terrible under Lincoln Riley. Every defense I've ever seen, a Lincoln Riley defense has been like, hey, let's see how many points we can put up because we're going to have to on offense. to keep up with what our defense can't do. So I just don't think they have enough firepower, and I'm a little worried about them. So I do have them going 5-7. I do have them losing to the bulk of their schedule, and I'm going to read it off because I think it's interesting.
Sure.
After you get past like their non-conference and Purdue, who cares? Purdue, Michigan State, Illinois, and then they get a bye, and then they play Michigan, Notre Dame, bye, Nebraska, Northwestern. So they've played some of the teams we've talked about so far. They play Iowa, Oregon, UCLA. I guess if it maybe do you have them beating UCLA? Because I don't.
Yeah.
I have them losing to UCLA. Okay, so that's our difference, I think, in this whole thing. I think we have the same games they won, except for I have UCLA
that's the only
beating
difference.
them. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems pretty reasonable. That's a coin flip game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And
100%.
this team loses to the good teams and beats the bad teams, basically, this year is how I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tough.
And just to cap off the recruiting, Lincoln Riley went 15th for 2025, and currently they're in first for this year's recruiting class. So,
but it has not panned out. It's all.
The other thing to add on to that is we are in flip season as well, or coming up on flip season.
Right,
so nothing's on paper yet till December.
Fair. Okay, let's go over to UCLA because they are next. I had them beating USC, which put them ahead in this situation. Dustin has them actually going 3-6. I had them going 5-7, but 6-6. I had them going 5-7. But if you look, our conference records are funny because they had some games at the beginning of the year that were interesting. They play Utah, who I'm a little bit higher on than Dustin, I know, and then they also play UNLV. I had them losing both of those games.
Yeah,
I think those are tough games. I really do. But after that, they have 6 conference games with 7.5 wins. Like I don't know, like the schedule is really rough. Is just kind of how I look at it. At the end of the day, it's a tough schedule, and I really just think that they lose. They go 4-5, and they just lose some games. They did a really good job in the transfer portal. Getting a guy like Nico is very important.
Yep.
But at the same time, I think it's a bad decision by Nico at the end of the day because I think it hurts his overall development because being in the SEC is great for quarterbacks and learning under a much better head coach. But it's not just that. I understand that he's going closer to home, his family and stuff like that. So I get that side too. But they did get 3 wide receivers that could start in the transfer portal. Caden Robinson, Mikey Matthews, and Jaden Wilson. So I think that's important. And then they added a bunch of players on defense. It's just a team that I'm not as high on because I don't know that I'm probably not as high on Nico as some other people are at this point in his career. I think he's made bad decisions as a individual with this whole thing, first off. And then also we watched Tennessee kind of have to put him in the back burner and play their other players. Dylan Sampson was amazing. They didn't even really use their trio of really good receivers last year as much as I wanted them to because they couldn't. They used their defense and they used their running game because Nico, as the year went on, got worse. So I'm not as high on him right now. I want to see it before I put this Bruins team higher on this list.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I think I am almost in the Kyle Pitts era of my Nico hope. I'm just going to keep hoping. Just at some point, he's got to put it together.
Fair.
I think. And then it's very possible we go the entire year and he doesn't put it together, and I'll still think he has one more year, and we'll just go from there, I guess. Okay. But I mean, we talked about it a lot last year at the beginning of the year. The potential is off the charts with him, and he just never put it together. Now there was a lot of drama and more stuff's coming out. Apparently, the dad is bad mouthing Josh Heupel, which is not a good move from a PR standpoint or a team chemistry or any of that kind of stuff. I guess chemistry doesn't matter if he left, but regardless, you don't really want that coming out or being in the spotlight when all of that is like months ago it happened. I don't understand why they refuse to move on.
Let it go.
Yeah. I mean, journalists, hey, good job, get your clicks, man. But why the family's giving into it is crazy to me. Someone give them some PR training. I mean, they're in LA. You would think they would learn by now.
Sure, absolutely.
And as far as the Utah game goes, that one is solely because Utah's going to have to figure out how to live without Cam Rising. And I think it just doesn't happen week 1. And UCLA essentially steals a win, more or less.
Okay. Fair enough.
But then I could also see them getting blown out if Utah does figure it out, because Kyle Whittingham's a great coach.
Yeah,
And
great
so
O
I
line.
don't put it past it. And then we could get to the really fun spot of USC versus UCLA to make a bowl game. And that would be awesome.
That would be great. That would be great. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm just think this team needs a year. I don't think Nico's going to come out this year. Obviously, if they go 6-6, that's or 5-7, that's not going to happen. So they're going to get a year, another year with him. Is what I'd expect. And unless his dad tells him like leave,
Yep.
that okay. I can see your head bobbing and weaving over there,
Yep.
but no, I believe you. I get it. But that would be my only concern is like I think he comes back if he like realizes that's the best thing for him. It's a really good
Yeah.
class. It's a really good quarterback class. It really is.
Sure.
And we don't know what's going to happen with Arch, but it might be Nico and Arch next year.
Yeah.
So that's my thing.
Yeah. I do think UCLA is better for him because his new coach played for
Wait.
UCLA. I was just adding that real quick. And hopefully that gives him a better head on his shoulders.
Okay, I got you. Now Iowa, and it's your turn.
Yeah, so Iowa, perennial middle of the road team. They're still recovering from the Ferentz era when we used to have bets on how low of yardage they would achieve. They now have a new OC who's entering his second year. So hoping for at least, if nothing else, some more interesting games there. They're returning a lot of their production. They just didn't do it with the transfer portal. They did it the old-fashioned way, which again, with Kirk Ferentz, is absolutely zero surprise because that's what he does, is the old-fashioned way. They are losing Caleb Johnson though, which we were both pretty high on, and they're bringing in Mark Gronowski, who is the South Dakota State quarterback last year, and he's actually making rounds on Twitter right now because of fans and their crazy takes, and whether he's going to be really good or an absolute embarrassment in the Big Ten. So that is yet to be seen. And then their defense, they'll be, Iowa defense. We expect much of the same as usual. Still one of the better defenses in the country. I just can't convince myself to. I think they make a bowl game. That's essentially their floor, and that's kind of the record I gave them was that floor. But they absolutely have the ability to get to that 8-win mark because they're Iowa, and that's just what they do.
Yeah, they win the right way, in my opinion. Like they win with rushing, like running upside and defense. This team does hold two of our dark horses for this class, so that's always fun. And they have Aaron Graves on defense, their defensive line, and then their center Logan Jones is a really solid interior offensive lineman that we have both as our dark horses for this year. So it's not like this team doesn't have good players. And actually, 11th for an Iowa Hawkeye team is really weird in the Big Ten, but that's just how talented up top it is, right? Like.
Yeah.
That's just the difference in ability with some of these teams. Is like there are some teams above them that are just like that much better, or some teams that we're projecting to just turn up and be better. Like you said, though, they did bring in Mark Gronowski. He's replacing Cade McNamara, who had a total of 1,017 passing yards last year, 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Awful. It's just they have to get more out of their passing game to really improve. If they want to win 8 games, that's how I think they do it, is they get more out of their passing game. I have them winning 7 games. I think that leaning on their defense obviously will help them win 5 games by itself. And then they get a situation where they play some teams where they can win in the conference. They play Rutgers, they play Wisconsin, they play Minnesota, USC, Michigan State, and so there's some winnable games in there. And then of course they get their non-conference games. So I just think they could steal a game, not a problem, because they play the style of play they have, and they punch you in the mouth. If you haven't seen Jennings Dunker, the right tackle for them, he will probably play interior offensive line. I've been watching a little bit more on him since our offensive tackle stuff, and I think he's going to be an interior offensive lineman, but he is just a mauler. He'll punch you in the face. And I think their front defensive line and trenches stuff, offensive line, is why they'll win more games, because they're just going to go and beat up on the USCs of the world, the UCLAs of the world, because those teams are kind of soft compared to these other teams up north.
If you haven't seen him, look up his mullet, Jennings Dunker,
awesome.
with
Great
a G.
mullet.
Jennings
Great
with
mullet,
a G.
Man.
Amazing mullet, fantastic mustache, well worth the Google.
Absolutely. No, yeah, that's honestly he jumped 3 spots because of it.
And deservedly so.
Yeah, absolutely. Going over though, I get the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. I'm much higher on Rutgers, as you can see by the records. I have them at 8-4. I believe in this team a lot, and I'll tell you why. I'm a little biased. They actually have one of our dark horses. He's our edge dark horse in Eric O'Neill. Eric O'Neill started his career Long Island, and then went to James Madison. And after James Madison now is transferring again in his 5th year to Rutgers, he's just a like mean down like he is he's Jack Sawyer. If y'all remember Jack Sawyer, I was a big fan of Jack Sawyer last year. He's like the new version of Jack Sawyer, not playing on Ohio State, but you're going to know who this guy is. And they did a really good job getting him in the transfer portal. He is, and then they also went and got Bradley Weaver on the other side from Ohio to play the other edge position. Both guys are studs coming out of smaller schools. I think that they did a great job getting after small school players. So I know that Dustin wants to talk about the running backs, but I do want to finish it out with this was the 9th graded transfer team in the second in the Big Ten. That's huge. They did have some 2024 losses where they were really close. They had 4 games against good teams, Kansas State, Illinois, UCLA, Nebraska, within 1 score. That if those roll over and they win those games, I think obviously you're not seeing a 5.5 total. We have the over for both of us. I think this is a pretty solid over smash in my personal opinion.
Yeah, like you said, they had a lot of close games last year. They did learn how to win those games. Their biggest issue right now on offense is losing Kyle Monungai. They're bringing back Ethan, who will be here for his 3rd year. He needs to take a step up too, though. His stats have not exactly been overly impressive. But they did bring in CJ Campbell Jr., who's a 3-star transfer coming from FAU, and he did well there. He had 11 touchdowns, 5.1 yards per carry. So it's one of those things. I'm more with the bettors and betting lines on this one, seeing them make a bowl game. Their schedule is also not doing them any favors considering they end the year with Ohio State and Penn State. So they don't exactly get that easy push to advance their bowl standings, or if they're at 5 wins going into that game, even if they underperform, then we're probably not seeing them make a bowl game. They're a fun team, but I just can't convince myself to put them past 6 right now.
Sure. I actually want to disagree with you, though. And this is just based on what your point was. If they're playing Ohio State and Penn State at the end of the year, say they win one of those games. Now, that is really fresh, is what like even if they lose, they could lose those games. They could lose to, stop looking at me like that. They could lose to Penn State. They could lose to Ohio State. Say they're close games. Like they're really fresh games. So if you do well in those games, it's a big deal. Now, if you get blown out, that's also a big deal. You shouldn't, that sucks. But I think if they can keep those games close, I think that's big. You said you noted on Ethan Kalakmanis. We didn't really get into him. He's the 3rd-year starter that you mentioned at quarterback. Hasn't been great in his in his first 2 seasons, actually. 2024, he had a 53.9% completion rate. That's pretty awful. 2,996 yards and 18 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. But there were some interceptions left on the board. The other team. He had some other teams drop his interceptions, if that makes sense. So, yes, he has to improve. But if he improves, and the defense obviously has improved, I'm really excited about this team. They run the ball really well. Kyle Monungai was such a great player, but I think that the O-line, and we talked about this a little bit, they went 4-0. Their O-line was rated the #1 PFF O-line through the first 4 weeks of the year last year. They're returning some of those guys. I think that if they can get that O-line going, they can be a really good team. 8-4. I'm pushing, obviously, for that number, but I really like this team, and I hope that they can do that. At the end of the day. So, and then you get the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
So we row the boat. PJ Fleck leads Minnesota. You gotta love a team with the. I still don't know where row the boat comes from or why they have it. If you know, please enlighten me real fast. But
please put it in the PJ. Actually, put it in the chat if you know, because I don't know.
Someone please tell me the lore. Ever since PJ Fleck has been there, I've been yelling "row the boat" when I see the Golden Gophers on TV, and it's worked out. I'm right on it, so it's pretty awesome. They're a team I love to root for because of that. I really couldn't tell you why, but the culture there is awesome. They have a great running core there. And I know Emery loves the running backs when we talked about them off screen. as far as a duo at least. And then they do have a new quarterback though in the redshirt freshman Drake Lindsey. He has 5 total attempts, so that part is a little bit scary with the team. They do play Ohio State and Oregon, but they also get to play 4 of the bottom teams in the conference, which does help elevate them.
Yeah, let's just talk about their transfer set, and then I'll get into the running backs. But just starting it out, they went out and got some talent for their redshirt freshman Drake Lindsey. They went and got Javon Tracy out of Miami of Ohio, very solid player. Malachi Coleman out of Nebraska, and then Logan Loya out of UCLA. So 3 legit starting upside types of players at receiver. Then they also went and said, hey, we need a pass catching type of back, say the Jahmyr Gibbs type. They went and got AJ Turner out of Marshall. He is now paired with Darius Taylor. Darius Taylor is not my favorite running back. That is true, because we're just talking about if you're talking about draft prospects, but Darius Taylor has been very, very productive in college. I'm not saying that he's a bad football player. College-wise, great football player. And they have a perfect 1-2 punch because Darius Taylor is the big bruiser type of back, while you have AJ Turner, who's a little bit smaller, more explosive, going to get you bigger plays. But Darius Taylor is a guy you don't want to play in the snow in Minnesota in the fourth quarter. You're like, hey, this freaking hurts. And this guy's going to run through your face kind of thing. Now, with all that being said, the best player on the team hasn't even been talked about yet, and that's Coy Parrish. Coy Parrish is the best safety in the nation behind only Caleb Downs, the whole NCAA. 5 interceptions in 2024, didn't even play the whole year. So that's very, very impressive. Yeah. And he returns kicks. He's just a really good football player. He does everything for this team. And I like betting on him. I think that 8-4 is a very fun score. Very fun prediction. I think it gets them a great bowl. And we're picking an over on a team that has done really well in recent years and has had players come out multiple times. And I just think they got better. The only question mark is Drake Lindsey, who is that quarterback. But they have a good running game and a good defense that I think kind of fixes that. Kind of like the Cade McNamara with Iowa thing. Now we hopefully get Minnesota. Hopefully Drake Lindsey does well. But if he doesn't, the 5th overall defense from last year at 285.7 yards per game is going to help them get over that hump, at least for the first few games in the year.
Just remember to keep rowing the boat.
Okay. Okay. I should have put a meme on here. God.
You should have.
When I made this. Next up is the Illinois Fighting Illini. This team runs through Luke Altmaier. And Luke Altmaier is a good player. Problem is, they did lose both of their starting receivers that were really good for them last year. And Pat Bryant going to the Broncos and Zachariah Franklin going to the Raiders. Running back Josh McCray transferred to Georgia also. So they have some guys leaving, but they've also got a really good core on defense. So it's a good team. It's a good team overall, good core type of team. It's not, they don't have like amazing players anywhere. If we're going to highlight somebody, Gabe Jacas on defense is a guy we need to talk about because he's been a stud and he was on our Edge video, but they don't have anybody that's just like amazing by any means. But they do, on the other hand, have one of the easiest Big Ten schedules. And that's why you have them at 6-3. I have them at 5-4. They play Ohio State and Indiana, but they don't play Michigan, Oregon, Penn State, those other teams up top. And I think that 8-4 is a really solid place for them. I don't think that, like, their win total is 7.5, and I'm like, I could see them winning 7 or 8 games. I think that win total is right on point. So I think good team.
Yeah, I am actually really excited to see what Luke Altmaier can do this year. I know he doesn't have the production on the receivers he had last year, obviously, but he did throw 22 touchdowns to 6 interceptions and had 2,700 yards on 61% completion percentage. He's one of those guys that has been around forever. He had 2 years at Ole Miss kind of learning, didn't get many snaps there, but then he's been the starter here at Illinois for 2 years now. So definitely your seasoned veteran, if nothing else. And then, like you said, they have to play Ohio State and Indiana, but they miss the other 3 of that upper echelon, which sets them up to have the ability, at least, to move into that 8-9 win area.
Sure. One thing I will say, like, I think this is a good team that will win the games they're supposed to and lose the game they're supposed to, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think that they're gonna just like go out and beat Ohio State or Indiana, because I don't think they
Yeah.
have that type of talent. I just think they're better than other teams, and they're kind of just
Yeah.
like right in the middle of like the talent pool, if that makes sense. Everybody on the team kind of feels
Yeah.
the same, if that makes sense, talented wise.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I put
let's go
nothing
over.
past Brett Bielema. Guy's insane.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And it's cold and tough to play in Illinois.
Yeah.
So, all right, all you.
Yeah, Washington, led by head coach Jed Fish. He went there after the whole Kalen DeBoer leaving for Alabama. He left Arizona, took over, and he is just a solid coach. And he helps me think that Washington will return to what they were doing with Kalen DeBoer. We actually have the same record for them both in conference and just overall. They did well in the portal, 15th overall. They do have a new starting QB in Damon Williams Jr. Very limited action, but when he did play, 78% completion percentage, 8-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. So lots of upside there. We've talked about their wide receiver, Denzel Boston and Jonah Coleman, both being very good players. And I just put nothing past Jed Fish's ability to improve a team with what he did at Arizona, who was coming off the backs of Kevin Sumlin, who, if you know anything about him, destroys any FBS team he touches. So at that point, he came in and then gave Arizona hope again. Of course, he left and devastated a lot of fans there. But he also got a really good opportunity at Washington. So I personally don't blame him whatsoever for going.
Sure.
But that is why I put them slightly above the win total, reaching 9 wins.
I can't believe we had the same win total, because I knew I was high on Washington, and we hadn't talked about this. Like, I knew I was like really high on Washington. I was like, they're going to be a team that like dark horse type of Big Ten type. They could win one more game. They're 10-2, and they're probably in the playoffs.
Yep.
And then we get here, and I'm like, damn. Of course, Dustin also put them at 9-3. I was like, no way.
Yeah.
It all starts, like you said, with Damon Williams Jr. He started a couple games as a true freshman this last year. 78.1% completion rate, which is awesome. 944 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. This dude just poised. He's a poised player. Versus Oregon, 17 of 20, 85% against Oregon for 201 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions. Just insane upside. I just really like this guy. He's young, though, so we have to wait and see. But he at least has Denzel Boston, who could legitimately be the wide receiver 1 in this class.
Sure.
And then Jonah Coleman, who is going to take away some of that, the pressure off of a young quarterback. Damon Williams can run too. So Jonah Coleman had multiple 100-yard games, and I think this is one of the dark horse teams in the Big Ten. I don't know that enough people are talking about them. I think they could go 10-2 and make a real statement. The teams I had them losing to are Ohio State, Oregon, and Rutgers. And I'm sure you had them losing to Ohio State, Oregon, and say Michigan. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a question for you.
Let's hear it.
How on earth do you have Washington losing at home to Rutgers, then going on the road in Ann Arbor and beating Michigan?
What? It's because they're different. That's why. That's how it works, man.
Okay, so earlier we talked about UCLA going all the way. I get it's colder in Washington. It's not the same. I'm just shocked at that juxtaposition and back-to-back weeks.
I really like Rutgers.
I think you just really like Rutgers.
They find a way to win, okay, man? And then we'll talk about Michigan here in a minute, but like, it's not that I'm down on Michigan. I just think the games that are difficult for them, games like a Washington team, those kinds of games they're going to lose. And we'll tell you why, though that's just not as far. It's very few teams that they're going to have to play that are difficult. Michigan's schedule is very nice. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. Because I don't think Michigan's going to have the record that projects how good they are, if that makes sense.
I do.
Whatever. Next up. Is it my turn? I think so. Yeah. Nebraska Cornhuskers. This is Dustin's team, actually. He's got them at 10-2. I've got them at 9-3. We both really like them. It's not that. They have a 7.5 win total, but we're way above that. We believe in the Dylan Raiola step up from last year. They also brought in 2 wide receiver starters in Dane Key and Isaiah Hunter to help him from Cal. And then they also brought in some offensive line in the transfer portal. They are going all in for Dylan Raiola,
Yep.
because they think he can take that step up. He had a 67.1% completion rate last year, 2,819 yards, 13 touchdowns, to 11 receptions, but he just needed more receivers to get the ball to, a little
Yep.
bit more talent on the field. Makes me feel like a Caleb Williams in Chicago type of thing with how they do it. And I love Matt Rule. Matt Rule, I had side story while I had a good friend. He actually coached me a little bit when I was playing at TLU. He went to Carolina and coached at the Panthers with Matt Rule, and I saw so many good things. Matt Rule's just a really good guy, so I'm a big fan of his. He plays really great defense, as you can see on the board, 18th on defense, and he has a quarterback to complement that defense really well. I think 9-3 and 10-2, awesome. I'll let you get into the schedule and stuff though.
Yeah, I mean their hardest game is obviously Penn State, and that's on the road. And whether they were on the road or home for that one, I would put it down as an L. So they almost luck out in the fact that's one of their road
Sure.
games,
Mm-hmm.
because they get Michigan at home, they get Iowa at home, and then they're at Minnesota. And then below everyone else is essentially a team we've already discussed, if you want to say tier 3 or below at this
Sure.
point. I'm big on Dylan Raiola. I think he takes that step up from his freshman to sophomore year. He's obviously got a very good trainer, and the fact he gets trained by Pat Mahomes' as personal trainer, or personal QB coach. I'm not sure the exact word for whatever that would be, but the guy who puts him through all his drills and is teaching him how to play quarterback in the offseason. Like I said, they added some wide receivers, and then I'm high on Matt Rule. He did a great job when he was with Baylor. He's one of those guys that shouldn't touch an NFL team, but is
Sure.
really good with pretty much any college team he goes to. And there's some guys that are just like that. Bill O'Brien, for instance.
Yeah.
But he does really well with it. And you can't argue that, or even, like you said, the one thing you talked about with Carolina is the culture, because he is a great person. There's no players that come out and say he's a horrible coach. And typically those are the guys that elevate their players and produce winning seasons. And then, like I said, that paired with the schedule, in Nebraska, we got to remember they have a history of being an absolutely elite college football team. It's not like
Absolutely.
they
Yeah.
don't have the fans, the base, the boosters who want to and will help them, support them get back to that point.
Yeah.
And now they have a quarterback who is poised to put them in that position.
Sure. And also, like you said, they have the boosters. Transfer portal rank was 14th. Big Ten
Yep.
was 6th out of that. And no one wants to actually play in Nebraska. So getting people there and getting them as a 14th graded team is really good. They also have
Yep.
the 37th strength of schedule, like we talked about a little bit. That is very, very, nice overall.
Yeah.
So I agree with you on everything, all your points. Indiana.
How sweet. Windiana.
Indiana. Yeah.
Tindiana
Go.
last year.
Oh, here we go.
Kurt Signetti. You want to talk about memes? Row the Boat was fun. Kurt Signetti he doesn't need one meme and rely on it for 6 straight years. I guarantee we get quotes this year that replace the Google me and the I just win, look me up, all that kind of stuff. Because he does. That's what he does. He upgrades at QB. He goes from Curtis Work, who was great, serviceable last year, to Fernando Mendoza, who you're higher on than I'm high on. And they get to play similar to last season's schedule, where they kind of lucked out considering the Big Ten. They get to do much of the same this year. They have Michigan State, UCLA, Maryland, Wisconsin, and Purdue. And if you recall, we've talked about all these teams and not a whole lot of positivity or hope behind it. The hardest one of those 5 being UCLA, and that is going to depend, like we said, on what Nico can do and how that goes. But I think we're both pretty high on them. Obviously, 10-2 going over on the win total, and I'm pretty confident in that over. That is one of my more confident ones.
Yeah, agreed. I think, like you said, like Kurt Signetti just wins, and in any game that he's supposed to win in, he gets his team ready. They don't come out like a Lane Kiffin team where they lose games they shouldn't win or shouldn't lose.
Right.
They're always ready on defense, which at the end of the day, I think a big thing is like when you're playing a team that you're better than, really it comes down to like how your defense plays. Because, I know that, everybody wants production on offense and stuff, and it's all fun and games, but when you have a defense that ranks second in the nation at 257 yards per game, and you have a guy like Mikael Kamara who's going to just continuously go and never stop, it's just it really frustrates an offense, and it truly disheartens them.
Yeah.
So I think that that's something that's big. Fernando Mendoza, I'm super high on. Like you said, I didn't watch him for our quarterback show that we originally did. I didn't. I watched like 12 quarterbacks, guys, and I didn't get to Fernando Mendoza. And then I went back and watched Fernando Mendoza getting ready for the mock draft, and I was like, dude, I messed up. I absolutely messed up. I got to get this guy in here. And he was a mid first round pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers because of it. And 68.7% completion rate, 3,004 yards, 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions at Cal. He's just going to take a step up. You know,
Yep.
his receiving core is a lot better at Indiana. Getting a guy like Elijah Surratt is awesome. And then, you know, they added 3 new O linemen for protection. They're really pushing, you know, in the portal. I think people like wanting to play for Kurt Signetti too, which
Yeah.
is always a good sign. And then, like I said, they have players on every level, both sides of the ball, that are really good. On defense,
Yeah.
D'Angelo Pons. I told you about Michael Kamara. Like, it's just they have guys. They're going to win the games they're supposed to, and they're going to be in games. They're not like the harder games they're going to be in also.
Yep. I absolutely agree.
And then Oregon. Oregon is 11-1 by both of us, and it's a little misleading. Obviously, Dustin has them at 8-1 in the conference. I have them 8-1 in conference, third and tied for second. We have 2 teams split above this that are going to keep them at fourth, while the other 2 teams are either like fifth and first, or, you know, that whole thing. But starting off with Oregon, they had the number 1 transfer portal. They went out and just did the thing, what I like to see with the team, because I think the transfer portal's great and all, but I like when you go and you target starters. You go find guys
Yeah.
that are going to play for you right now.
Yep.
That's what they did. They have one of the best targeted starters transfer portal. Offensive tackles. They got a left and a right tackle. One from the left tackle is Isaiah World out of Nevada. This guy is going to be a first rounder, and you get ready for it. That just is what it is. He's that good. And then at right tackle, you have a guy named Alex Harkey out of Texas State, where I went to college and got my master's right down in my town. He went to Hayes High School, where I went to high school. So very cool to see a guy from our high school getting to start at right tackle for Oregon. That's very cool. He has an opportunity to also, you know, get drafted.
Yep.
Then they lost Jordan James. They get Mekhi Hughes out of Tulane. They lost Jamari Caldwell, and they go get Bear Alexander out of USC. They lost Jabber Muhammad, and they get Darren Johnson. You see what I'm doing here? It's all the same, right? And then they go add Dylan Thieneman, the number 3 safety in college, in my personal opinion, behind Coy Parrish and a guy we'll talk about here in a minute. So it's a lot of fun. And I'm going to let you break down their quarterback situation. But Mateo Oyangavale is very good also.
Yeah, much better than his brother.
Sure.
Their quarterback is going to be Dante Moore. And remember how I mentioned that Nico had a ton of potential? Dante Moore has more. So
More.
oh wow, that was
More.
not intentional, but I'll take it.
More.
Point for
yes.
me.
A lot more with extra O.
Yes. But the guy's apparently got insane arm talent. Just the absolute man on the field. Last year, Dylan Gabriel was still there, and they were talking about how good the guy's arm talent's going to be next year. Former players, current players, all that kind of stuff. And Dylan Gabriel probably knows it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Seeing him in practice. So I'm really excited to see what he can do. But of course, there is the unknown of what happens with this guy who hasn't actually had meaningful time on the field yet.
Well, he played it. He started at UCLA. Wasn't good.
Right. So now in the Big Ten, a little bit different. So, you know, that's really what it's going to come down to. I think we both just have them losing to Penn State. And I will still stand by that, as we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, he played in 2023 at 213 attempts. He had 53.5% completion percentage and 11-9 touchdown to interception ratio. So, and then last year, obviously, barely played.
I watched the spring game.
Yeah.
And this guy has some of the most incredible arm talent. I mean,
like I said, I'm high on him. I think it'll be awesome.
I'm not sure he's going to be throwing to now that Evan Stewart's out for the season.
Evan Stewart, torn Achilles, I believe.
That's the biggest problem. Is Kenyon Sadiq is a super good player. They have a true freshman coming in. I can't remember his name off the top of my head,
Neandry.
but he is
That's right.
he is going to be one of their starters. It's just, can he get the ball to these guys? But
Yeah.
like I said, they have Mekhi Hughes. They have Noah. What's his last name? I'm sorry, I'm blanking. Their other running back, Noah. I'm blanking. It's okay though. They have a really good running back duo. Basically, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So Dante Moore has players around him that can play.
Yeah.
It's just kind of jiving and gelling before the getting into the season. But towards
Mm-hmm.
the end of the year, I don't see this team not being like an 8-win conference team, and
Yeah.
that's just kind of the floor. I feel like
Yeah.
this is a 10.5 win team, and like we're both taking the over. Like
Yeah.
it feels really good to take the over here too. So I just really like this team. I think Dan Lanning just does a great job. Basically, is how I get at it. He's just a great coach.
Well, they also get lucky because they play Penn State and they don't play Ohio State or Michigan. So
Right.
as a top team, they definitely luck out there. And their one hard non-conference game is Oklahoma State, who
Fair.
has been fairly forgettable the last couple of years.
Yes. Okay. Your team.
Yeah, if y'all liked my take on Virginia Tech last week, here's another one. Give me Michigan. Give me $10 million, allegedly, man, Bryce Underwood, the guy who they essentially stole from LSU, again, for $10 million, and lead me to the promised land, young man. Michigan is going to be back after last year. Last year was a fluke. We're going to call it that. Their schedule is not that hard. All things considered, they do have Oklahoma early in the year. I think that's a learn what you got game, and I do think Oklahoma wins it. And then I think Bryce Underwood figures out what he's going to do to be that guy there. After that, they start with Nebraska and then Wisconsin, USC, Washington, which we talked about that Washington one earlier. It's in Michigan. And then Michigan State, obvious easy win. Purdue, easy win. And then after that, Northwestern, easy win. Maryland, easy win. So, and then they finish the year with Ohio State, and Ryan Day refuses to make any Ohio State fan happy and actually beat Michigan for once. So, for that reason, give me 11-1, undefeated in conference, Bryce Underwood and the Michigan Wolverines, assuming they don't get really bad sanctions by the NCAA, by the way, which is yet to be seen.
Okay. So I think that it's a fair argument that their schedule is awful. Like, I mean, just atrocious.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is their schedule's god awful.
No, like the worst. I know it says 29th up there, but that's including like Oklahoma, for strength of schedule.
Well,
and
and
Oklahoma's considered a top 30 team
Right.
in but I mean, this is such a terrible schedule in the Big Ten that if they don't win 7 games, that is such a big blow. Because they're literally only games that they could lose are Washington and Ohio State.
Yeah.
And I gave them both losses because I don't think that Bryce Underwood is just going to be a freshman phenom and be the greatest player ever. I think that they need time, but this is a good team. Like, even without Bryce Underwood last year, can it get worse is basically how I wrote this. 61.7% completion rate, 1,678 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. That's what they had at quarterback for the whole year. I mean, that's why they lost so many games. They had a good running game. Donovan Edwards plus Khalil Mullings last year was really good. Now they're adding Justice Haynes from Alabama. Really good athletic type of back. Defense is always good. They're bringing it. I know they lost some players, and a guy Will Johnson, Mason Graham, like all these guys, but they're actually bringing back a good amount of players that are really good. Rayshon Benny, Derek Moore at the edge position, Jayshawn Barham, Jair Hill, and Rod Moore in the secondary. Like, there's a bunch of good players on this team. I'm with you on that. I just don't think that they're like back. Like, I don't think they're a 10-2 or obviously they're not the undefeated team that they had a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But I think they're good. I think they go 9-3. I think that the schedule makes it possible. Look, if they go 9-3, they're not in the playoffs. They would have to win 10 games because their schedule is too easy. Now, if they go 11-1, they're in the playoffs, and it's going to be the worst playoff team that we're going to see because they kind of walked in. They have a lot of question marks that I'm not ready to just be like they're at the 11-1 team, but I understand what you're going for. I think Ohio State gets them this year for the first time in forever. No flag planting this time around on their own field. Ohio State will be doing the flag planting. Last year was crazy. But yeah, like I think Ohio State's better just better in general, and we'll talk about them here in a
Sure.
second.
Sure.
And then I think that
I do too.
Washington goes and gets them. I think Washington just goes and gets them because they're the best team they will play, not named Ohio State.
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely see it going to a 9-3, but I do think their floor is 9-3.
Sure. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's Oklahoma, Washington, and Ohio State, and that's it that I see
Yeah.
on their schedule that's a reasonable loss.
Right.
Next up is Ohio State, who we have
Yeah.
flipped. Dustin has them at 9-3 and 7-2, and I have them at 11-1 and 9-0. I have them losing to Texas, just like you. Texas is the first game of the year for them. I don't think that they'll be ready. I think Texas is just too, they have so many players returning on defense and on offense, and I think that they're just more ready than Ohio State, who is basically restarting their whole team. If
Yeah.
you just look at they lost on offense alone. Actually, let's do both. Will Howard and
Sure.
Emeka Ibuka, both running backs, 4 offensive linemen, all of their defensive linemen, a linebacker, 3 DBs, all to the draft. Just the draft guys. That's not
Yeah.
including the graduated players. Like that's just draft guys.
Yeah.
And they didn't really they didn't go and replenish necessarily in the transfer portal in a way where I was like, oh, that was a great haul. They only got 3 expected starters. But that's
Yeah.
because Ryan Day knows that his 2 deep is that good. Like last year's second stringers are that good, and he knows
Yeah.
that. They have a favorable schedule overall, in my opinion. But I think they do drop. They could drop a game against Washington, Minnesota, Illinois, Rutgers, Michigan. All of those are possible games to lose. I just think that this team is the best team in the Big Ten,
Yeah.
and I think that they kind of show that. We do have,
Sure.
and I want to put this out there. We have a dark horse on this team. It is going to be Sonny Styles, the linebacker. Really like him. Dustin really likes
Mm-hmm.
him. That was
Mm-hmm.
not a question when I picked him as our dark horse. Dustin was on board. I love that. And then they have the best 2 players in all of college football on their team. Jeremiah
Yeah.
Smith on offense and Caleb Downs on defense. Caleb Downs is the best player in football on defense. So
Yep.
I really like this team.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, especially with your last points, having the 2 best players, one on each side of the ball. Just breaking down their schedule, I do think they lose at Texas or against Texas solely because of the entire roster turnover that's
Mm-hmm.
occurring, and then Julian Saying coming in, and we just haven't seen him play enough meaningful snaps
Right.
leading a team yet,
Completely
at
agree.
least at the college level. And then after that, their only games I have them losing are the ones that, if you look at their schedule, would be your top 2 guesses, Penn State and then Michigan. Penn State, I just think this is a year for Penn State. They've got the pieces, and we'll talk about them more in a second, so I'll get there. But with Michigan, it's again the coin toss. I could easily flip this to 10-2 and be right in line with the win total, because rivalry games are just that. They're rivalry games. You throw out a lot of the metrics and stats because weird things happen and flags get planted. Like last year, Michigan should have been beat by 30 points. And before the game, I expected them to be beat by 30 points because Ohio State was quite clearly the best team in the country.
And we predicted it. We actually predicted the game. I don't remember what we said, but we definitely had them winning by 2 touchdowns minimum.
Oh, yeah. 100%. And then they didn't. So
no.
And then they went on to win the Natty as we expected them to.
Right.
So
yeah.
we got thrown through a loop there. But that's my only issue with them. Is that's going to be a coin toss. Now, the really fun part is I could still see them, assuming all their games are close and they improve throughout the year, getting a very low, like 12 seed in the playoff, solely because of how talented I think they will be and show that they will be. And essentially, what?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you don't leave the last year's national champion out of the playoffs at 9-3 to me.
Assuming they don't
not
get
Indiana.
blown out. Yeah, I agree. That's my point. And I think they'll actually, because how I have them tied for 4th in the conference, they'll benefit from that, not making the conference championship and
Agreed.
not having the ability to lose and get kicked out like Indiana.
Sure.
Where last year
Absolutely.
they kind of just stumbled into the playoff or not stumbled in, they obviously did very well all year, but they couldn't lose that last game against a top tier team to like use as ammunition. It was like, well, they went 11-1 and their 1 losses to Ohio State. What are you going to do?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. This is a team that could go 9-3 though, in my opinion, and make the playoffs just because of the pedigree of the coach.
Yep.
Of the fact that they're probably going to lose most of their game. They're going to lose to Texas early, and for some reason that carries a little bit less weight, obviously. I mean, Texas is also going to be the number 1 to number 4 team in the nation. So
Yeah.
that also helps. But yeah, no, I completely agree with you. They're going to, if they do lose their games, they're going to be against top 5 teams. Penn State,
Yeah.
Texas, and then Michigan. If Michigan beats them, they're a 10-2 team, most likely playing in the conference championship, a
Sure.
top 10 team in the nation. So
Yep.
yeah, let's go over to the last team, which is Penn State. And I just want to put this out there, guys. I had them going 11-1, 8-1. Dustin has them going 12-0 and 9-0. There's a lot of question marks around Drew Aller. Drew Aller is the biggest question mark for everybody on this team. If you're projecting Penn State to win this many games, 23 total games between the two of us, you have to believe that he takes a massive step forward.
Yep.
And I believe in him. That's why he was our number 5 overall player in our mock draft, because I think he does take that step. He has all the physical tools in the world. Some people believe that his mental is what the problem is, obviously, and I think that that's fair. But he is going to be a third-year starter on a team that has been very deep in. This is almost like the Quinn Ewers effect. Now, obviously, I think Drew Aller's better than Quinn Ewers, but Quinn Ewers was a player that, of course, got injured throughout his career, but he helped lead teams into the playoffs, lost to Washington on a tipped last-second throw,
Yep.
and then lost because of the Jack Sawyer fumble recovery against Ohio State last year. Like, that's kind of what I'm seeing with Drew Aller. Like, for some reason, he is getting more hate than probably deserved, and it's almost like prospect fatigue. Now,
Yeah.
I think that Drew Aller deserves a little bit more love, and I think that he will step up and play well. If he doesn't, fine, kick me, whatever. But they did add some players that give him an opportunity. They added Kyron Hudson out of USC. They added Devontae Ross out of Troy, and then my favorite player out of the group is Trevor Pena out of Syracuse. He did have 66.5% completion rate, 3,327 yards, 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. I know they're losing Tyler Warren. That's the biggest hit, but they did return both of their running backs.
Yeah.
Both running backs. And I'll let you go, but I'm going to talk about their defense in a minute.
Sure. I mean, the big thing with them is the floor that Drew Aller is going to provide. Over the last 2 years, he's had 49 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, including in 2023, 25 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
So he's a guy that is not going to lose you games playing risky ball. And meaning that the 2 hardest games on their schedule are Ohio State and Oregon.
Yeah.
Those are going to be the tough ones. Those are the games Aller needs to play more than just what he's proven already. Outside of that, there is essentially no reason with Drew Aller being the leader he is and how well he can manage the game, and the running backs being probably the best duo in the country, returning both of them. And theoretically, the wide receivers have improved as well. There's zero reason they should lose any outside of that. And then with that being said, their first conference game of the year is Oregon. And like you said, with them having a lot of turnover, I just think that gives Penn State the privilege of having a lot of their offense back or improving on it.
And it's at Penn State.
Steady QB. Right. And
it's at
which
Penn
makes
State,
which is why I have them winning that one. And then I just think, like we've said with the Ohio State thing, I think they'll just be the more talented team. Drew Aller with the seniority will have them win that game. And then, like I said, outside of that, I just don't have a game they should lose.
They do play Indiana at home, so that is at least a tough game.
Sure.
But I agree with you. The only game that I had them losing was at Ohio State, and that's just because it was at Ohio State.
Sure.
I picked the home team there. I
Totally
believe that Ohio State will kind of regroup and just they just rinse and repeat every year. So I think that they can do that.
Sure.
Let's talk about some defense. Defense, they obviously lost some players, Abdul Carter and Jalen Reed. They also lost Kevin Winston Jr. So who didn't get to play last year. So it's a little bit of a wash on that one.
Yeah.
But guys that are on their defense right now that we like are Danny Dennis Sutton playing the edge position for them. Massive dude. Solid athlete, massive dude.
Yeah.
And then AJ Harris actually was top 10 on our first mock draft going to, I think, Miami. Yeah, Miami. So they have some guys on defense. They have some guys on offense. I think that this team is ready to go. They have one of the best offensive lines. Like, it's just a really solid football team. And I completely agree with you with the sentiment that they're going to be a top. two team in this conference no matter what. So,
Yeah.
as you can see, I have them tied for second. We will talk about who the other team is that they are either going to. Well, I'm sorry. We talked about Oregon. Oregon was tied with them, and then Oregon did not make it. Let's see right here.
Gotta love
My
tiebreakers.
championship game. What's up? Oh yeah.
Gotta love
Tiebreaker
tiebreakers.
wise,
Just
Penn
how they
State did
work
beat
out.
Oregon. Penn State beat Oregon in mine.
Yeah.
So that's how that worked out. So Penn State gets in versus Ohio State. And then we get a rematch of a crazy game that Ohio State won already. It's going to be really hard to beat a team twice, in my opinion. So I don't know who I'm going to pick. I mean, if this comes to fruition, I'd probably side with Penn State, finding a way to win the second time.
There it is.
It's
the
tough.
dark side.
Super tough, man. No, I love Penn State, and I liked them last year. It's not that. I just hate James Franklin in big games.
Big game James.
Big game James is not my friend. And remember last year you were like, I can't believe you picked them. And I was like, I know. Like, James Franklin's going to screw it up.
Here's the fun part. When Aller leaves and the running backs all leave, have fun with my record prediction for the year after that. Because James Franklin will feel my full wrath on my opinion on him. Sure. He's not the reason I'm elevating them. Let's put it that way.
No, I get it. I get it completely. And then your side, you have Michigan, Penn State. I'm guessing Michigan gets in because of their schedule. Penn State's the better team.
100%. And Penn State wins. Wash, rinse, repeat. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Michigan essentially does what I thought Indiana did last year, where they only lost the one game, mainly because of their schedule more than anything. Michigan State, the tiebreakers just work out to where they make the conference championship.
Absolutely. Agree. Your dog's going crazy.
I guess it's feeding time.
Apparently. Well, we'll get out of here. That was our last slide. So we appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Me and Dustin really enjoy doing these. This is Dustin's favorite thing right now.
Absolutely.
And
I'm playing college football.
Look at the dog.
Hey, Bubba.
The big dog. But we appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Go like and subscribe to our channel. Like this video. Go watch our ACC breakdown. We're going to be doing a Big 12 breakdown. Then we're going to do the SEC top 25. And it's Dustin's birthday, so shout out Dustin. Tell him happy birthday in the chat. We appreciate y'all for hanging out with us, though.
Like the video, comment to say happy birthday. Thank y'all very much for joining us. See you next week.
Later.